Let's start with the painful and slowly work our way towards the stuff of nightmares. Number 15, the Heretic's Fork. This medieval device was simple. A metal fork with 4 sharp prongs, 2 pointing up under your chin, 2 pointing down at your chest, strapped around your neck with a leather collar. You couldn't move your head. Down, the prongs pierce your chest. Up, they stab through your chin, into your mouth. They kept you like this for days. You couldn't eat, drink, or sleep. Any movement would puncture your skin deeper. Most died from infection or starvation. The fork usually had Latin words engraved on it. I recant. A lovely reminder of why you were suffering. Number 14. The breaking wheel. You'd be tied to a large wooden wheel, arms and legs spread along the spokes. Then an executioner would take an iron bar and systematically break every major bone in your body. Fingers, toes, wrists, elbows, ankles, knees, shoulders, hips. Each strike carefully placed to shatter bone but keep you alive. After all your limbs were broken, they'd weave your body through the wheel spokes like a twisted pretzel. Then, mount the wheel on a tall pole in the town center. You'd be left there, still alive, broken bones jutting through skin, as birds and insects fed on your wounds. Death came from shock or dehydration after hours, sometimes days. One German thief survived on the wheel for 9 days before finally dying. Talk about a bad week. Number 13. The Spanish Donkey. A tall wooden frame shaped like an upside-down V with a sharp edge at the top. The victim sat naked on that wedge, pressed directly between their legs. Then heavy weights were attached to their ankles. Sometimes 50 pounds, sometimes 100. The body weight plus the weights would slowly slice through flesh and muscle of the groin and pelvis. Most passed out within the first hour. But they'd be revived with water because the whole point was to get a confession. And confess they did. The Spanish Inquisition loved this device because it was reusable and terrified anyone who saw it. Survivors were left permanently disabled, unable to walk for the rest of their lives. Number 12. The Rack. You're lying on a wooden table, wrists tied to one end, ankles to the other. 2 men start turning the handles. Click. Your shoulders strain. Click. Your hips scream. Click. The pop of joints separating from their sockets. They're not trying to kill you. They're trying to make you talk. Anne Askew in 1546, 25 years old. Her crime? Reading the Bible to women. They racked her for hours, every joint dislocated, completely paralyzed. So they carried her to the stake on a chair and burned her alive. And those women she supposedly corrupted, she never gave up their names. Now that's loyalty to your book club. Number 11. Sawing. We're now entering the part where survival is no longer an option. The victim hung upside down, legs spread and tied to 2 posts. 2 executioners would take a large saw and begin cutting from the groin. Because you're upside down, blood rushes to your brain, keeping you conscious. Victims often remained alive until the saw reached their chest or head. The upside down position was very intentional. Right side up, you'd die quickly from blood loss. This way, you'd feel every single cut. A 16th century account describes a woman who remained conscious and screaming until the saw reached her ribcage. Even executioners needed hazard pay for this one.
Number 10. The Brazen Bull. A life-sized hollow bronze bull with a door on the side. The person would be locked inside and a fire lit underneath. As the metal heated, the person inside would slowly roast alive. But here's the twisted part. Tubes inside the bull's head converted screams into sounds that resembled an angry bull. To the crowd, it just sounded like a bull. Inside, someone was being cooked alive. Temperature reached over 400 degrees. Death came from dehydration, heat stroke, and asphyxiation as superheated air burned the lungs. The process took 30 minutes to over an hour. When the inventor Perillos presented it to the tyrant Phalaris, the tyrant locked Perillos inside his own creation to test if it worked. It did. Number 9. Keelhauling. Used by Dutch and British navies. If you stole or started fights, this was your fate. Arms and legs tied with rope looping around the ship. Thrown overboard on one side, crew pulls you underwater along the entire bottom, including over the keel. The bottom of ships were covered in barnacles, razor-sharp shells slicing through your skin like a cheese grater. Most were dead before reaching the other side. Survivors often faced a second round. One Dutch sailor survived 3 keel haulings in 1667, covered in scars, missing part of his scalp. The crew let him live, but he was permanently disfigured and stayed at sea for the rest of his life as a living warning. Number 8. Boiling alive. England made this official punishment in 1531 under Henry VIII, specifically for poisoners. Since you killed with liquid, you die by liquid. The first victim was a cook named Richard Roose in 1531. He was boiled at Smithfield in front of thousands. Witnesses said it took 15 minutes for the water to reach full boil. His screams could be heard across the entire square. But England wasn't the worst. In Asia and Eastern Europe, they used oil instead of water because it gets much hotter, over 300 degrees compared to water's 212. The victim's skin would cook and peel off. Death from shock, but some remained conscious until internal organs failed. England repealed this law in 1547. Apparently, even Tudor England had limits. Apparently. Number 7. Hanged, drawn, and quartered. England's ultimate punishment for high treason. First, dragged through streets behind a horse, face down in the dirt. Then hanged, but not to death. Just enough to strangle you until almost unconscious, then cut down while still alive. While gasping for air, they'd slice open your abdomen and pull out your intestines, sometimes burned in front of you. Then they'd cut off your genitals, remove your heart, cut off your head. Your body would be cut into 4 pieces and displayed in different parts of the country. William Wallace in 1305. Yes, Braveheart. His head stayed on a spike on London Bridge for years. The last victims were Irish rebels in 1867, almost 600 years after Wallace. England really loved this punishment. Number 6. Crushed by elephant. Used in Asia for over 4,000 years. Last confirmed case in India in 1947. Forgot to pay taxes? Crushed. Stole bread? Crushed. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir once ordered hundreds crushed in a single day because he was bored. 3 methods. First, head on a stone, elephant crushes it like a grape. Quick if you're lucky. Second, placed flat while elephant walks over you. Hopefully crushes something vital first try. Sometimes just gets a leg so it makes a U-turn. And again, and again. Third, highly trained elephant slowly crushes limb by limb. Arms, legs, tusks pierce you, then finally head or chest. This was the theatrical route emperors loved. Except for the victim. He didn't love it. Number 5. Impalement. The victim would be positioned upright. A greased wooden stake, thick as a man's arm, was forced into the lower body and slowly guided upward. Executioners carefully avoided vital organs. The goal wasn't a quick death. The stake could emerge from the shoulder, neck, or mouth. Sometimes it didn't emerge at all. A small wooden support on the stake kept the body from sliding down. Then the stake was planted upright along busy roads or city gates. Victims remained alive for hours, sometimes days, fully conscious, begging passers-by for help that never came. In 1462, Vlad the Impaler displayed thousands of impaled bodies outside Turgovishta. An advancing Ottoman army marched into a forest of corpses and turned around. The bodies stood for months.
Number 4. Rats. First method from the 1500s. Rat in a bowl placed upside down on your stomach or groin. Bowl heated with torch. Rat desperate to escape the heat has one way out, through you. It digs, claws, bites through skin, muscle, deeper. You feel every second, eventually tunnels completely through. Second method, Chile. 1970s, 80s, they called it the rectoscope. Tube inserted, rat placed inside. Rat burrows deeper, while they expected you to answer questions. Thousands went missing under Pinochet. Your parents were alive when this happened. Number 3. Flaying. Skin removed while alive. Using knives, executioners would carefully peel away skin, starting from extremities inward. The key word is carefully. Too fast or deep, you'd die from blood loss. Skilled executioners kept people alive for hours. Death from shock, blood loss, or infection. Some survived the initial flaying, only to die days later. The Assyrians would display flayed skins on conquered city walls. Archaeological evidence confirms this. Persia in 1850, 2 religious leaders publicly flayed in the city square. Process took over 2 hours. Victims remained conscious almost until the end. Their crime? Teaching a different religion. The executioner removed almost the entire skin in one piece. Number 2. Scaphism. The boats. Ancient Persia. The victim was placed lying on their back inside a small boat. Then, a second boat was inverted on top, trapping them inside with only their head, hands, and feet sticking out through holes. The two boats were then bolted together. They'd force-feed the victim a mixture of milk and honey until completely full, then smear the same mixture all over their face and exposed limbs. The boats were left floating on a stagnant pond, fully exposed to the sun. Within hours, the milk and honey caused severe diarrhea. The victim would be sitting in their own filth while covered in the sweet mixture. Flies, wasps, and bees swarmed, attracted by the sweetness, stinging and tormenting them. But here's the nightmare. This wasn't one day. Every day, executioners would return to force-feed more milk and honey and apply a fresh coating, keeping them alive to prolong the torture. The victim's distended belly would produce constant liquid excrement. This rotting filth would breed swarms of worms that would begin devouring the flesh from inside. One documented case, Mithridates, in 401 BC, 17 days of his flesh rotting away, devoured by worms and insects before he finally died. Though this account comes from Plutarch, historians debate whether this method was actually used or just ancient propaganda. Number 1. Lingchi, death by 1,000 cuts. Lingchi was China's official execution method used for centuries until banned in 1905. The victim was tied to a wooden frame in public. Executioners used knives to make deliberate cuts, removing flesh piece by piece from the arms, legs, and torso. Despite the name, most executions were fast. Severe blood loss caused unconsciousness within minutes. But the number of cuts varied wildly. Some were symbolic, others brutal. Ming Dynasty records show up to 3,000 incisions for the worst crimes. Here's what most don't know. If the executioner was merciful, or the family paid a bribe, the first cut was fatal, to the throat. Everything after was just dismembering a corpse. One of the last victims was Fu Zhuli, executed in 1905. One of the most systematic and public execution methods in history. So there you have it, 15 punishments that make you question humanity. If you made it this far without skipping, comment which one disturbed you the most. Or don't, I get it. And if you think there's something worse we missed, let us know. Unfortunately, history has plenty more nightmares to choose from.